Carl Sagan discovered how this saves your memory and brings you closer to genius. Have you ever wondered whether your mind holds hidden powers that could transform the way you learn, think, and experience the universe around you? Have you found yourself longing for an intellectual breakthrough, a moment of insight that lights up your awareness and sets you on the path to unparalleled mental clarity? Today, I invite you on a journey through the profound ideas of Carl Sagan. Ideas that can not only preserve your memory and sharpen your intelligence, but also bring you closer to tapping into that spark of genius we all secretly crave. By the end of this exploration, I promise you'll discover a simple but powerful method inspired by Sagan's cosmic perspective, one that might just rewire your brain for greater insight. Stay with me, because in the last stretch of this story, I'll reveal a technique that even the most skeptical minds may find impossible to ignore. Carl Sagan was a master of unveiling the mysteries that the cosmos hides, but he was equally passionate about the human mind's capacity to understand those mysteries. In his lifetime, Sagan was not just an astronomer and a science communicator. He was also an avid thinker about how our mental processes reflect the deep structure of the universe itself. Through works like Cosmos, Pale Blue Dot, The Dragons of Eden, and other groundbreaking writings, Sagan constantly reminded us of humanity's innate ability to question, learn, and grow beyond the boundaries of mundane comprehension. In many ways, his call to merge rigorous scientific thinking with boundless curiosity continues to resonate more strongly than ever. But how does Sagan's cosmic vision save your memory? And in what way does it bring you closer to genius? The answer lies in understanding the profound relationship between our intellect and that sense of awe we feel when gazing at the night sky or contemplating the grand expanse of the universe. It might sound poetic, but modern neuroscientific insights are backing up Sagan's convictions. When the mind enters a state of wonder, networks within the brain responsible for creativity, synthesis, and learning become more active, forging stronger connections between neurons. The more these connections grow, the more resilient our memory becomes and the sharper our reasoning skills get. Sagan believed that the cosmos offers more than beauty and inspiration. It invites us to ask the big questions that challenge the mind to expand. This curiosity-driven expansion is what nourishes genius-level thinking. When we let ourselves be guided by sincere wonder, we become explorers of thought. Suddenly, everyday learning is no longer a chore. It's an adventure. In that adventurous mindset, we feed our memory new pathways for retention, linking data to feelings of fascination. Memory researchers have found that emotional engagement, particularly curiosity and excitement, dramatically improves recall. As Sagan might have said, the more enthralled we are by a subject, the more vividly we store its details. Yet the story doesn't end there. There's also a practical dimension to all this: Sagan's approach to critical thinking and the scientific method. By examining claims and data through a skeptical but open-minded lens, we train our brains to discern patterns more accurately, filter out misinformation effectively, and retain those facts that pass the test of reason. Critical thinking acts as a shield against cognitive overload. It helps us sift through the endless stream of information bombarding us each day, keeping only what's relevant and logically consistent. This process ironically reduces mental clutter, freeing up space for more nuanced thinking. And the less cluttered our minds are, the easier it is to form enduring memories that lead to greater understanding. So, in essence, what Carl Sagan discovered was not a one-size-fits-all remedy, but a multi-pronged perspective. Combine the wonder of exploration with the rigor of critical analysis, and your mind will blossom. This combination fosters a memory that is not just robust, but also dynamic, able to pivot and adapt to new knowledge. It's a memory that is fed by wonder, shaped by reason, and honed by curiosity. Sagan's famous line, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself," eloquently speaks to this synergy. If we are indeed how the universe becomes self-aware, then every new insight, every memory, and every cognitive leap we make is a celebration of that cosmic function. Imagine your daily routine. You wake up, perhaps take a quick look at your phone, brew some coffee, and mentally prepare for the tasks ahead. Now envision a subtle shift. Upon waking, you spend just a few minutes looking at the stars, or if daylight is already broken, you allow yourself to recall an image of the night sky. You let your imagination roam vast distances. Consider how the starlight you see might have traveled for millions of years before touching your eyes. Even this brief moment can spark a sense of wonder. It primes your brain for discovery. When you carry that feeling of awe forward into your day, you begin to ask more questions, observe more details, and connect fresh ideas to your existing knowledge in a more meaningful way. As you go about your tasks, whether they involve reading, problem solving, or speaking with colleagues, you might notice that your mind feels less burdened by trivial concerns. You might also begin to catch glimpses of how cosmic perspective soothes everyday anxieties. It reminds you that many of our daily worries are fleeting. This sense of calm can significantly boost cognition because stress is one of the primary obstacles to clear thinking. By adopting a cosmic vantage point, you free your mind to focus more fully on learning and retaining information. It's a technique that builds up your memory like a muscle, repeatedly exposed to the right sort of mental exercises. It's worth considering that Sagan's worldview was grounded in the notion that wonder and skepticism are two sides of the same coin. Too much wide-eyed awe can lead to credulity, while too much skepticism can lead to cynicism. The balance, he argued, is the hallmark of truly intelligent inquiry. At that balanced intersection lies an incredible power. You remain open to new possibilities, fueling your memory with novel concepts, while simultaneously refining your capacity to assess and retain only what holds true. This synergy acts as a mental sorting mechanism, categorizing knowledge in a way that's both expansive and orderly. Over time, the effect is profound. You find that you can recall essential information more reliably, link it to other ideas, and even generate creative insights you never dreamed possible. Sagan's approach also reminds us of the importance of storytelling in shaping both individual and collective memory. When he spoke about stars, galaxies, and the possibility of extraterrestrial life, he framed these topics within narratives that captured the human imagination. Stories stir emotions, and emotions anchor memories in the brain. Just think about your childhood. Aren't your most vivid memories tied to moments of strong emotional resonance? Joy, fear, curiosity, or excitement? By weaving cosmic facts into a narrative tapestry, Sagan turned them from abstract data into living experiences. We, as listeners or readers, then stored those experiences in our memory banks with far more tenacity than if they had been mere bullet points on a list. At this juncture, let me ask you something important. How do you, personally, invite wonder into your daily life to keep your mind fresh and your memory sharp? Please share your thoughts in the comments, because it's fascinating to see how different people incorporate that sense of amazement into their routines. Whether you find it through nature walks, stargazing, reading about black holes, or listening to music that transports you, every method is a testament to the universal thirst for knowledge that Sagan celebrated. Another key aspect we can attribute to Carl Sagan's perspective is the way he embraced our shared human heritage. He often pointed out that we all come from stardust, that the atoms making up our bodies were forged in stellar furnaces billions of years ago. This notion not only inspires, but can also transform the way we approach self-improvement. Recognizing that our biology is literally cosmic in origin can cultivate a sense of belonging and responsibility. Responsibility to our planet, to one another, and to our own potential. When we see ourselves as fleeting, miraculous configurations of ancient matter, we might decide not to waste this precious mental capacity we've been given. In practical terms, harnessing that cosmic sense of self might look like dedicating time each day to reflect on your larger goals and how your immediate actions contribute to them. Instead of letting your memory fade amidst trivial tasks, you can prime your mind to retain what truly matters. If your goal is to learn a new language, for example, link every new word or phrase you learn to that sense of cosmic perspective, Understand that communication is part of what unites us as a species. When you learn a new word, connect it to something meaningful, a new friend you made from another culture, a story you read that opened your eyes to a different world. The emotional anchor you create by bridging the cosmic viewpoint to your everyday experiences helps those words lodge more firmly in your memory. Speaking of bridging viewpoints, consider how Sagan championed the marriage of arts and sciences. He recognized that creativity and analytical thinking are not enemies, but complementary allies in the quest for truth. A well-trained memory and a path to genius-level thought benefit from a broad set of stimuli. You might study astrophysics and then read poetry about the moon in the same day, cross-pollinating the rational with the imaginative. This holistic feeding of the brain fosters new neural connections, allowing you to recall facts more easily, because those facts become woven into a colorful tapestry of human experience. In other words, remember that the mind flourishes when it doesn't stay confined to a single domain. Another essential lesson from Sagan's cosmic vantage point is humility, and humility is more vital to memory than you might suspect. Arrogance can blind us, leading us to assume we already know all there is to know, which causes our learning to stagnate. A humble stance keeps the brain in a perpetual state of readiness, ready to absorb, question, and integrate new information. Memory thrives when we remain perpetual students. The moment we think we've mastered it all, our curiosity, and thus our retention of new ideas, begins to wither. Humility, in Sagan's world, was a recognition of how vast the universe is and how little we truly grasp. Embracing that can keep your thirst for knowledge unquenchable. This perpetual learning mindset can be seen as a secret superpower. It's why Sagan's fans often mention how his words stuck with them for decades. Not just because they were eloquent, but because they were reminders of how much more there is to explore. When you fall in love with exploration, you feed your memory a steady diet of fascination. No wonder you recall the gist of Sagan's quotes, or the swirling galaxies he described with such lyricism, or the pale blue that represents our home in the cosmic void. The emotional resonance of these images and ideas is deeply entwined with the memory process. You remember them because they awakened you. As we dive deeper into how exactly you can replicate these results in your own life, consider that daily reflection is a potent tool. Take a few minutes each day, or even once a week, to jot down your thoughts about what you've learned, any cosmic insights you've had, and how they make you feel. This is similar to the reflective part of the scientific method, where you observe the results of your hypothesis. In this case, the hypothesis might be, if I adopt a cosmic perspective, my memory and creativity will improve. By writing down your reflections, you strengthen the neural pathways responsible for retaining those insights. It's a strategy that merges introspection with methodical tracking, a practice Sagan implicitly endorsed by urging people to remain actively curious and reflective. Don't underestimate the power of being consistent. A cosmic perspective doesn't need to be an occasional flare of awe when you see a breathtaking photo from the Hubble Space Telescope. It could be an integrated part of how you think every day. For example, whenever you learn a new skill at work, be it analyzing data, writing reports, or even cooking a new dish at home, remind yourself that you're part of a grand lineage of beings who, across eons, evolved the capacity to reason and adapt. This perspective might sound lofty, but it's grounded in scientific reality. Your brain is the product of countless generations that survived by learning and changing. Each time you remind yourself of that, you subtly reinforce the neural circuits that prime you for deeper learning and stronger memory retention. Sagan also loved to emphasize the importance of patience and incremental progress. Just as the cosmos evolves over billions of years, our minds and memories also grow and adapt over time. There's no magic wand that will turn you into a genius overnight, but consistent application of wonder, critical thinking, humility, and reflection can catalyze meaningful, lasting changes in your cognitive abilities. You might notice that your memory for certain subjects becomes exceptionally sharp, while other areas need more work. That's normal. Sagan would likely encourage you to keep exploring, refining, and observing. It's also crucial to embrace the moments when you feel like you've failed. Sagan's life was filled with breakthroughs, but also with controversies and challenges. From debates over the greenhouse effect on Venus to the complexities of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, he understood that scientific progress is fraught with setbacks. Yet each setback is a lesson that, when learned properly, enriches your mental library for the future. Similarly, your personal journey to a better memory and a more genius-like mindset won't be linear. You'll forget things, struggle with new concepts, or lose motivation sometimes. Sagan would remind you that these difficulties are simply a sign that you're pushing your boundaries, which is exactly where growth happens. By now, you might be wondering whether a cosmic perspective is truly enough to spark all these transformations, or if there's something more tangible, more systematic, that can help seal the deal. This is where Sagan's fusion of scientific inquiry and imagination is particularly potent. Consider setting up small experiments in your daily life. Test out a memory technique, like the method of loci, storytelling, or spaced repetition, and merge it with your sense of cosmic wonder. For instance, if you're using the method of loci, imagine placing each piece of information along a path of stars in the Milky Way. Let each star represent a fact or concept you need to remember. The act of visualizing cosmic imagery can deepen the emotional imprint and thereby make the memory more durable. Before I go on to unveil a specific technique at the end, one that many find shockingly effective at bridging cosmic awe with practical memory boosts, let me pause for another question. If you had the chance to spend a few minutes stargazing with Carl Sagan, what one question about memory or intelligence would you ask him? Share it in the comments. Reflecting on what you would ask can sometimes reveal the exact direction you'd like your own learning to take. It can be incredibly enlightening to see the variety of questions people come up with, from the scientific and technical to the deeply philosophical. We've touched on many elements so far: wonder, skepticism, critical thinking, emotional resonance, storytelling, humility, and incremental experimentation. All these are pieces of a grand puzzle that Sagan spent his life exploring. To bring them all together, it helps to remember that Sagan never wanted people to merely memorize scientific facts. He wanted them to embody the scientific mindset, to let it guide how they view reality. When memory is trained in this environment, where data is filtered by awe and tested by reason, facts become more than facts. They become insights that illuminate our place in the cosmos. Now, let's talk about a practical method you can start using immediately. I call it the Stardust Reflection. Every evening, set aside 5 to 10 minutes before bed. Close your eyes, take a few calming breaths, and picture the Milky Way arching across a dark sky. Imagine each star as a piece of knowledge or experience from your day that you'd like to remember. Maybe it's something you learned at work, a new foreign language phrase, a scientific fact, or even a personal insight about your relationships. Then, connect these stars with lines of curiosity. Imagine beams of light forming constellations that represent the relationships between these bits of knowledge. This mental image merges Sagan's cosmic wonder with a memory technique that relies on visualization and emotional engagement. The reason this Stardust Reflection can be so powerful is that it taps into the mesmerizing nature of the night sky, a potent emotional anchor. By tying your daily learnings to that sense of cosmic grandeur, you're signaling to your brain that these pieces of information are important, meaningful, and worthy of long-term storage. The emotional undertone of wonder acts like an adhesive, helping the details stick. Meanwhile, the linking of ideas into constellations aids in building a mental map, so you don't just remember isolated facts, but their connections as well. At first, it might feel a bit awkward or forced, but as you practice each night, you'll likely notice that recalling what you learned during the day becomes smoother, almost automatic. You might wake up feeling more mentally fresh, and over time, you'll realize that the new knowledge you're gaining hasn't slipped away as easily as before. In effect, you're leveraging the same synergy that Carl Sagan harnessed, the power of cosmic awe to fuel your critical, curious mind. There's a fascinating interplay here with modern neuroscience. Studies indicate that when we tie learned information to strong visual and emotional cues, we form more durable memories. Combined with reflection, which is known to be a potent driver of learning consolidation, you get a practice that resonates with how the brain naturally encodes, stores, and retrieves information. Sagan didn't articulate this exact technique, but he often hinted at similar practices, like telling stories about the cosmos in a way that made them unforgettable. Try this for at least a couple of weeks. Document your progress, perhaps in a simple journal. Notice if your recall improves. Pay attention to whether you feel more motivated to learn new things, and see if your sense of connection to the broader universe deepens. You might even discover that you're more creative, able to draw analogies between seemingly unrelated subjects, because your nightly Stardust Reflection has you unconsciously weaving them into constellations of thought. As you continue, you'll likely see how these small habits form the basis of your own personal genius zone. Genius often springs not from an extraordinary intellect alone, but from a persistent, playful exploration of ideas combined with unwavering curiosity. Sagan exemplified that in his life. He was playful with big ideas, never afraid to speculate, yet always ready to test those speculations against evidence. That interplay between imagination and evidence-based thinking is the real engine that drives the Sagan approach to memory and intelligence. You too can adopt it, even if you feel your memory isn't as sharp as it used to be. Over time, your brain is malleable and can be rewired in remarkable ways. As we near the conclusion, I want to remind you of the promise I made, to share a technique that might seem surprisingly simple, yet can shift the trajectory of your memory and thought processes. That technique is precisely this Stardust Reflection, the nightly mental journey across the sky that anchors the day's lessons to a cosmic backdrop. It's straightforward, doesn't require expensive tools or extensive training, and yet it can harness some of the most potent principles Sagan championed: awe, curiosity, emotional resonance, and reflective practice. What cosmic perspective or memory-building practice will you commit to trying next? Let me know in the comments. The act of making a public commitment can reinforce your motivation and accountability, potentially sparking a ripple of change in others who read your comment and feel inspired to try something similar. Carl Sagan taught us that we carry the cosmos within us, and that our brains are among the most exquisite wonders in the known universe. By allowing cosmic perspective to guide our learning and memory, we unlock new levels of comprehension and insight. We become living embodiments of the universe's quest for self-awareness. And in that sacred role, we edge closer to the genius that lies dormant in each of us, waiting to be ignited by wonder and nurtured by reason. May your journey be filled with starlight, curiosity, and the unstoppable drive to explore both the outer cosmos and the inner landscapes of your mind. Remember, we are all stardust with a destiny to learn, reflect, and grow. Let this knowledge energize your memory, sharpen your intellect, and illuminate your entire life.